literacies that should be developed developed among our students while they are still with us, learning and learning to become not just language people, but also people who have critical thinking skills, not just on mathematics, not on logic, not just on facts, but being able to use this information and knowledge to act on issues in our society and environment. And that's what we're going to talk about this, the importance of science literacy and reasoning and how it is different from scientific knowledge. Okay, I think we should be able to, at the end of my talk, at the end of this webinar, we will now be able to understand, is it scientific literacy and reasoning that we teach our students or we help our students to acquire, or is it more just scientific knowledge? So we need to understand and make a self-analysis of the things that we have been doing in the past years, and the reason why most of our societal problems are still continuing on up to this day, probably because of I'm not saying failure, but some inadequacies in implementing the real role of science education in the Philippine curriculum, or not just Philippine curriculum, but all curricula in the world. So let me share with you my PowerPoint presentation for this afternoon. And this is not a PPST, okay? This is more of the 21st century skill. So don't worry that this week we'll still have PPST topics though. All right, so it is making scientific literacy and reasoning. We don't want to separate both because we don't want our students to be literate, but they're not able to act on their literacy. This is what scientific literacy and reasoning is all about. It's something that we help our students acquire information and knowledge and how to acquire this information and be able to use this information to do something about situations in the field. Well, when we talk about field, it could be in their immediate environment, it could be their family, it could be in their community, it could be simply as oneself, problem oneself. We don't want to be so so broad and so profound in our way of trying to help our students act on their knowledge and apply this knowledge. We try to help them first understand who they are as individuals, all right? So scientific literacy and reasoning starts from understanding oneself and then moving to being able to help other people. And that's what we're gonna do today. This will be my a little bit of changes for the November month of presentation, because again, as you observe every month, I try to include, or sometimes I would take away some part of my previous month's presentation and include something new. So since November, I'll be starting with a human predicament. I call it a human predicament. I call it as a human predicament situation, is where I would be posing certain societal issues, local, national, international, where the information that I'll provide you with would shed light on how we can address this human predicament. All right. I believe I chose the human predicament element in my presentation because I believe in social reconstruction. I believe that the role of education is to help students become catalysts of change in society. Otherwise, what is education for when we are not able to help our students be the agent of change in society? Otherwise, we're just part of the problem, and we're just producing more problems without trying to make some changes in our society through our students. Second, we will have a self-assessment. So I retain this because it would be nice if we get to do retrospection, self-inspection as to our level of involvement, and active participation in promoting this type of information, especially science literacy and reasoning to our students, because we need to know whether we are just teaching information and not teaching our students some emotional, affective, behavioral, and cognitive skills to make them become more better individuals. All right. So this is more just a self-assessment because we believe in the mantra that we cannot give what we do not have. How can we teach scientific literacy and reasoning to our students if we don't have that to begin with? So this is just more of a self-assessment, and you don't have to share it to other people if you don't want to share. So again, this is more about knowing for ourselves. And after that, we'll have a little bit of conversation. I call it conversation because I don't want this to be more of highly academic way of presenting information. This is more of like, us talking about this certain information, how we can help ourselves so that we can help our students. I like that, helping ourselves to help our students. Okay. So this is more of a conversation about concepts regarding scientific literacy, reasoning, scientific method, what experts say about this, and what I have been doing as a curriculum consultant. I have been doing in promoting science as science education to promote scientific literacy and reasoning to the schools that I manage and the schools that I handle. All right, and afterwards we'll have an open forum for people who are asking questions about scientific literacy and reasoning. I will be posting some strategies, specific strategies of the phases of developing. There are phases in developing scientific literacy, which I'm going to introduce to you later on. And finally, I'll be summarizing quickly what we have discussed for this afternoon, and then I'll post to you some three very specific challenges, but practical for you to take on. But it's up to you again out there, teachers, if you're going to take on this challenge. But I hope you will do, because this is what we are for, educators, to take on challenges so that we can be also catalysts and change and models of our students. Sabi nga natin, ay sinasabi nga nila, di ba, na may kasabihan po tayo na ang tawag nito, ang mga kababata, may Filipino is really bad. Ang kabataan, there we go. Ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. Pero may idadagdag po ako doon. Naniniwala po ako na ang mga guro ang pag-asa ng mga kabataan. Kasi kahit pa may kabataan po tayo, kung ang ating mga guro at wala namang guro na mamaayos na magtuturo sa ating mga bata para sila maging pag-asa, so wala rin po. So it boils down again back to the education as an institution that helps our students realize their potentials and thereby becoming catalysts of change. Let's begin with the human predicament. Okay, this is more of the human element in society's existing perennial problems. I would identify some of the problems that have been existing, and then we're going to identify what are the causes of such human predicament or situations that we are facing right now, or probably still facing until now that we have not solved it. Well, there's something that we cannot solve, especially natural calamities. But probably humans like us have abbreviated since this natural calamities. Right? Let's have this picture. All right. Dapat muna. Sorry. Alala kasi meron akong this should be, I wasn't able to animate this. Fine. Okay, and then split. Okay, there you go. Let me go back again. Okay, situations like earthquakes. The past years, we've been experiencing a lot of earthquakes, and reason being is that I think we have aggravated an imbalance to our ecology, to our ecosystem, because of some of our neglect of our society, causing like mines, toxic waste being, and of course, toxic waste being dumped into our lakes and our forests. Also, situations where it causes because of forest denudation, um, well, causes global warming. The overpopulation is one of those reasons too. Next would be typhoons too. Typhoons like what happened in my province in Leyte, that really did devastated the place until now. People are still suffering, and some of them have already recovered, but probably recovered in terms of the of their housing, infrastructure wise. But I'm not sure if they have moved on physically and emotionally, mentally and emotionally of the situation. And I do believe they still recall every now and then when the typhoon comes. I do believe that they would still recall what happened to them every now and then, especially if a lot of people died because of the super typhoons, and they're now called super typhoons, unlike the typhoons before, that people could adjust to it and prepare for it. But right now, I think everything is becoming so unpredictable. Thank God that last night, super typhoon Rolly, subsided a little and then changed its route and then just dissolved. God has a way of doing that. But I think an eye opener for us that why are these typhoons are becoming so super all of a sudden. and so devastating in its course. So I think we have contributed to that, and I think global. I think we need to accept that global warming is one way or the other causes all of this changes in our natural environment. And of course tsunamis. A lot of like in Phuket happened in Phuket, a lot died there. Um, we need to realize as well. Late also, it's a lot of storm surges, and of course tsunami. It's one of the causes that would probably cause an aftershock cause of earthquakes and other forms like volcanic or tectonic. But the point there is that it's becoming more devastating and very recurrent. I don't know if we are going to be able to resolve this, but I think scientific literacy and reasoning would help our students, come up with ways to mitigate such problems in our environment. And hopefully it wouldn't be too late for us to produce such graduates. Now, now what our United Nations and a lot of experts have been doing the past decade, they do a lot of discussions, roundtable discussions about the following topics, like climate change. We've been talking about quality and security of food. We're talking about water and air pollution. We're talking about political instability, refugee crisis. We're talking about poverty. We've been talking about migration, talking about racisms, sexisms, gender bias, social, political, economic inequalities, and oppressions, and how to solve this. We've been looking at these problems for the past decades. I've been trying to solve it like a bandage on a wound that is infected without treating the infection first, without putting back. That's what I think of what we've been doing, like what we have been doing in the past decades. We have not actually solved these problems because we are not addressing these problems in its root. And according to National Science Council, the root of this problem is on the idea that people do not realize how to scientifically investigate these problems that exist in our society, the climate change. What we do is that we just, how do we solve climate change? Dapat daw, according to the National Science Council, is for us to solve this is, bakit nagkaroon ng climate change? Anong cause ng climate change? What we are trying to solve, what humans have been trying to solve, is that the effects of climate change, like drought, like typhoons. We've been thinking about how to solve the after effects of the climate change, the after effects of quality and security of food, the after effects of water and air pollution, the after effects of political instability. What we've been doing is more of intervention and remediation and curative ways how to address uh, the after effects of this problem. But we have not gone deeper in our discussions into what really caused all of this. And I'm going to present to you what the National Science Council have identified or has identified, and I would agree with their research. Okay. They identified that when we analyze things using our scientific literacy and reasoning, is that we need to identify that there are major causes of ecological balance. Okay, major causes of ecological balance. Also, with that, we also have major action that cause ecological balance. Kasi hindi po magkakaroon na lang bigla ng ecological imbalance. Because according to science, nature is a way of stabilizing itself. All right. And what causes this ecological imbalance is that there is an outside factor that permeates into the balance and destroys it. And they call it as the major action that causes ecological balance. These actions, and they call it, these actions are based on a root cause, right? So let's have an example. There are three identified major causes of ecological imbalance, three major causes of ecological imbalance. All right, so the root cause causes the major action, according to the council. The root cause of ecological balance actually are the ones that are responsible for the cause of ecological imbalance, thereby affecting ecological imbalance. All right, now these are the three major causes of ecological balance: introduction of synthetic products into the environment. Okay, they call it as one of the many causes of ecological imbalance because, like the plastic, Those are non-biodegradable that are uh, cannot be cannot be uh, well, non I forgot the term, but it's the non-biodegradable that cannot be recycled. It can be recycled, but I think because people are not doing their part. We're not doing our part in properly disposing of this synthetic products like plastic, all plastic products and all non-biodegradable. They cause certain changes and imbalance in the environment. And the action that causes the introduction of synthetic products in the environment is improper waste disposal. And until now, we have not resolved this cause. We've been trying to solve how to properly dispose of our garbage. But according to National Science Council, they said that the root cause of ecological balance is people's meager knowledge about their role in the environment, their role in society. Okay? Na hindi natin na ituturo sa mga tao. Ang tingin ng tao kasi sila ang nagmamay-ari ng mundo. They can take away, they can consume whatever they like, and do whatever they like. They have not realized there's what we call as natural resources that are not limited. Tapos merong scarcity, yung mga scarce limited sources na pag nawala, wala na talaga. Ubus na, like fossil fuel. Pag naubos na yun, ubus na talaga. So these are things that causes the major cause, introduction of synthetic products into the environment. Kasi nga, yung waste ng tao. So ang cause nga nun, ang knowledge ng tao. We have not properly educated our people. Second down, the major cause of ecological balance is introduction of toxic waste into the environment. And the National Council found out that the major action that caused ecological imbalance by introducing toxic waste to the environment would be conversion of agricultural land into industrial estates or residential subdivisions. And of course, who does that? People. Pag gumawa na tayo ng subdivision, hindi natin iniisip saan mapupunta ang waste ng mga taong titira doon. It used to be a forest, which, help in the ecological balance, and all of a sudden it's flattened and it's now subdivision, tabi-tabi na subdivision. So what do you imagine if there are a lot of people residing there in families? There will be residual garbage, residual chemicals that would come out from these families and disposing of it, babalik ulit sa improper waste disposal ulit. So, dahil nga hindi na dispose properly because of the conversion of agricultural land, wala nang lugar na kung saan pwede natin gamitin ang mga materials ito kasi nga hindi plinano ng maayos. So I think urban planning and rural planning is one of the problems. So dapat kasama po yun. Pag tiruan natin ng mga tao is that we have to teach them scientific literacy and reasoning of facts. What would be the cost? Hindi yung, nagtayo tayo ng subdivision. What would be the cost of this to the environment? What would it cost in the future? Okay, what ecological balance would it, influence or effect in the future? The third major cause of ecological imbalance is introduction of foreign species into and removal of predator species from an area. What causes daw dito ng action natin ay animal poaching. Hanggang marami parang mga tao na probably because of poverty, they kill. Well, some of them for fun, some of them for food, but some of them are doing this for pets. Tapos introducing new species on the environment that naturally na dapat hindi sila nandun, so they become predators. And wala mga natural, some of the natural species that should be existing. So ubos sila. Another one is the introduction of species, like introducing like nangyari sa Pilipinas, yung mga kuhol na yan. Dahil they are not part of the natural ecosystem in our environment, wala silang natural predators. Dahil wala silang natural predators, dumami sila. All right? So, yung mga idea ba natin na we are not capable of transporting a species, a plant, it could be an organism, different types of organs, could be plants or animals, from one area to another, causes really changes in the ecosystem. Yun po yung sinasabi ng natin na sometimes naman mahilig tayo sa, I know we love at plants and animals and making them pets. But what the National Science Council is trying to tell us is that let us be responsible. That even if we like this, but if we would somehow destroy the the ecological balance of our place, then don't do it. Kasi mas marami ang maapektuhan just because gusto mong gawin. And that's what scientific literacy and reasoning is all about. It's always for the common good because science is there to help improve our ways, give us ways of improving our way of thinking and reasoning out would this be good, not just for me, but for the environment, because science all along is understanding ourselves and our effect to other people and the environment. And that's what we want our students to develop, not just in science, but in all other subject areas. Okay? Now let's have the following self-assessment as to our involvement, our active involvement in promoting scientific literacy and reasoning to our students from preschool up to college. Okay, these are just about 10 questions that we're going to answer, and then we're going to compete for our scores. Okay, here's what you're going to do. Rate your answer to the following questions, not questions, statements, using the scale. Write your answers on a sheet of paper, of course. Be honest. Okay, kayo lang naman nakakaalam nito at malaman ninyo kung ano ang level ng inyong promotion or a level of active promotion of the scientific literacy and reasoning to our students. Let's start with the first set of statements. Statement number 1, I make my students understand, experiment, and reason as well as interpret scientific facts and their meaning. Always, sometimes, seldom, one seldom, one always, two sometimes, three seldom, four never. Ibig sabihin, ikaw ba yung teacher na kung science teacher ka, hindi pwedeng walang experiment. Lagi may experiment at tinutulungan ng mga bata to find answers to their hypothesis using experiments. It could be experiments that they're going to do individually or it could be done as a group. Number 2, I guide my students to describe, explain, and predict natural phenomena. I guide my students to describe, explain, and predict natural phenomena. Always, sometimes, seldom, never. Kagaya nung may teacher ako nung science, kasi I taught in elementary. Sa elementary, nung tuturo ako ng science, meron pa akong introduction ng weather forecasting. Kahit sa preschool, meron po kami nun. We have what was the weather yesterday, what's the weather today, and what do you think will be the weather tomorrow? So weather forecasting and predicting based on the weather right now, the conditions right now. So do we do that? Okay, number 3. I help my students read articles with understanding of science in the popular press and engage in social conversation about the validity of the conclusions. Again, I help my students read articles with understanding of science in the popular press and engage in social conversation about the validity of the conclusions. Ikaw ba yung klase na you assign students to read articles about science or about societal issues that is scientific in its nature, and then allow them to share that inside the class. Kagaya ng ginawa ko nung sa grade 3 class ko nun, ang ginagawa ay, that was like probably, madali lang ako doon, mga 2 months na akong grade 3 teacher. Ang ginawa ko doon, substitute po ako nun. Ang ginawa ko ay before mag-start ng classes ko, nag-a-assign ako bawat estudyante ng article to their grade 2 research to share. So it helps them also to read about societal issues regarding science. All right. So number 1, always. Number 2, sometimes. Number 3, seldom. Number 4, never. All right. Let's proceed to the next statement. Number 4. I make my students identify scientific issues underlying national and local decisions and express positions that are scientifically and technologically informed. So do you have ways like doing certain debates, yung mga ganun, like certain debates or dialogues inside the classroom as to these issues and what could science or what are scientific ways they can think of to solve such societal issues? Medyo hindi ko ito nagagawa. But I don't know with you guys. So try to answer the statement. Is it one always, two sometimes, three seldom, four never? What I like about researching about self-awareness instruments is that it helps me as well look into myself. Ay, nakakatulong siya. Kaya sabi ko, I like accepting topics like this. I know that I'm a curriculum designer. I have done improving, innovating science education, but by looking at this information from the National Science Council, I realized that I should do something about that kasi iba ang aking perspective ng dati kong science kasi yung paniniwala ko noon is yung science ay para gawin yung mga estudyante na mga scientists talaga na talagang kagaya ng nila Einstein and all. Then National Science Council comes up with this, checklists. Okay? Number 5. I guide my students to evaluate the quality of scientific information on the base of its source and the methods on used to generate it. Like not making my students accept immediately the facts. They need to look at the validity of the procedure and how it was, how the experiment or the process of researching has been done. So kung valid ba talaga at reliable. So nakakatulong. I think I did that for a particular subject like in science and research. But then again, iba naman kasi kung sa lahat ng subjects no, kung science. I think I could answer yourself. Not very free. But you guys, you answer your scale. Number 6, I require my students to ask, find, or determine answers to questions derived from curiosity about everyday experience. Meaning, do we encourage our students to ask questions based on what they have observed from their environment, or probably on the lessons as well that we provide our students with? Probably by presenting them pictures or videos, you could ask them to formulate questions, okay, to make them more curious. So is it one always, two sometimes, three seldom, or four never? Then we have statement number 7, the last. I require my students to pose and evaluate arguments based on evidence and to apply conclusions from such arguments appropriately. Like when you make your students do reporting and do like answer recitation, do you ask them for proofs of their source of their answer? Yung daw nakatulong din. And I'm happy when I saw this statement and said, oh my goodness, I've been doing that. And marami akong estudyante na galit no, naninis sa akin. Then I would always ask, where did you get the information? And then they said, this is my opinion. Next time, I would appreciate that if your opinion is with proofs from an article or research or something that you have done to verify whether your answer or your opinion is correct. So I'm happy that number 7, I would always say I've always been doing that. To the point nga nainis sa mga estudyante ko. Then afterwards, my students would say, afterwards when they have read for several years, would say, Sir, salamat po kasi yan po kaming mag-research muna at hindi lang mag-jump to conclusions. I'm happy. Well, I would say 7, I've been doing that. So what about you guys out there? Is it 1, always, 2, sometimes, 3, seldom, 4, never? Statement number 8. I make my students understand the science relevant to environmental social issues like gender bias, pollution, global warming, etc. I'm guilty of this statement. Do we make our students realize that everything that happens or all the societal issues, environmental issues that we are facing right now, whether it's local, national, or international, or it's global, there will always be scientific basis for the causes of this. Hindi lang daw ito cause ng political, hindi lang cause ito ng economic, o hindi lang ito cause ng poverty or ignorance. It is caused because of certain scientific explanations. And they said that we have not equipped people or the way people think about things. And that's boiling down to the picture that we have not developed thorough scientific literacy and reasoning among our graduates. So it's statement number 8. Is it 8? Is it 1 always, 2 sometimes, 3 seldom, 4 never? Statement number 9. I make my students communicate their ideas, understandings clearly about science and phenomena. What the council is trying to tell us about the statement is, do we allow our students to do reporting? Parang hindi ako Di ko nagawa yun na magpa-report sa science. O kasi according to the council is that by talking and by reporting about this, we require our students to do research and they make their own, they build their own scientific knowledge. And from the scientific knowledge, they build on towards scientific literacy because without scientific knowledge, there will be no scientific literacy because it boils down to knowledge first. And then and they will be able to apply that. So I think I'm guilty of statement number 9. So one, for you guys out there, is it 1 always, 3 sometimes, 3 seldom, 4 never? Kung ano ba? Iba ang tingin ko ng science, walang reporting. Pero I remember when I was a student, there were some of my teachers, science teachers, who would, after our experiments, ask us to do reporting. They will ask our group, kasi group experiments kami na, asks a member of the group to do the reporting of the results of the experiment. Pero iba kasi sinasabi ng council dito eh. It's assigning to students not just experiments, but also certain topics so that they will be the ones to introduce the idea. No nga, sa science education sa Pilipinas, tayo tuturo palagi, mga science palagi, ang science teacher palagi, ang know-it-all, hindi yung inaano natin ng mga bata. Kasi hindi daw, it allows our students to research and read and invent, creating scientific knowledge. Number 10, I require my students to make informed decisions about societal and environmental issues. Okay, so do we integrate societal, and environmental issues to help our students see the relevance of what they're learning in science? That's what the council is trying to tell us. So is it 1 always, 2 sometimes, 3 seldom, and 4 never? Okay, to compete for your score in this self-assessment, all you have to do is add your numeric responses. Add your numeric responses, statement number 1 to statement number 10 divided by 10. Okay? Ulitin ko po, add nyo lang po ang numeric responses po ninyo from statement 1 to 10 and divided by the total number of statements, then that will be 10. All right? Okay, that is easy. Now, here's the interpretation of your scores. If you got 1.0 to 1.5, it means that you actively and consciously promote scientific literacy and reasoning to your students. So talagang ginagawa ko. Okay? Hindi po, I took the test, I felt bad dahil hindi ako bumagsak. Hindi ako umabot dito. Hanggang dito po ako. Pero at least I'm getting there. In my mind, I just have to be conscious. Kasi kanyang term ng active self-conscious. Kasi yung score ko na 1.6 to 2.5 in between that, I'm not gonna mention what. I'm just promoting scientific literacy and reasoning to students. So, pinopromote ko lang siya, pero hindi talaga siya actively, unconsciously. Parang, yun after realizing na, yun palang ginagawa ko. Okay. And then 2.6 to 3.5, promote scientific literacy and reasoning occasionally on some lessons. Yung parang, minsan nagagawa mo, minsan hindi. So we're hit and miss today. Then 3.6 to 4.0 does not actively and consciously promote scientific literacy and reasoning to students. Talagang wala daw talaga. So we will have to learn. So after this, we'll now discuss how we can consciously and actively promote scientific literacy and reasoning to our students. Let's begin. So let's now start our. I know we've been discussing already, but we're now going to find answers why those questions, those statements are very important for us to do in order to promote scientific literacy and reasoning of our students. Question number 1, though, what is scientific literacy and reasoning? So we need to understand what that is, okay? So according to the National Science Council, it says that scientific knowledge is our information about what we know. This is the what. Okay, what we know. These are facts. These are processes, okay? This is understanding of facts about matter, ecosystem, physics, chemistry, etc. So if our students have memorized the facts about science, genetics, and all, then our students have gained proficient scientific knowledge, but does not necessarily mean that they have gained scientific literacy and reasoning, okay? Yun ang sinasabi ng council, which I now making me realize na, nga naman, ganun din ako nagturo nun eh. Parang mas importante sa akin na marami silang matutunan. Okay, not be able to apply what they have learned. Next, also, scientific knowledge means understanding the world you live in. Because of what we're learning from science, we get to understand our environment. But the question is, are we actively partaking in these issues and doing something about that. And that's scientific literacy and reasoning daw. Way beyond knowing. Yung nakikita mo, ay, ang daming mga garbage dyan, hindi nila na, dapat merong nagre-recycle yan. So, sa atin, taga po na tayo, dahil alam natin, meron tayong scientific knowledge. But the question is, do we stop at just knowing, or we also act on what we know? That's scientific knowledge, and that's scientific literacy. Yung knowledge kasi, I know what's right. I know what should be done. But the question is, on scientific literacy and reasoning, do we act on it? Do we promote what we know to be right? Okay. So scientific literacy, according to the National Research Council or Science Council too, di ba nakalagay in science too, scientific literacy has the following determining factors or determining characteristics. Number one is curiosity. It is asking on finding or determining answers to questions derived from observations about everyday experience. So making our students more inquisitive, promoting our students to be to ask questions is one way of developing scientific literacy. Not just listening to the teacher, listening to us lecture about information, about facts, about science. Okay. Another one is hypothesizing. If we ask our students to describe and explain and predict natural phenomena, that would promote our students to hypothesize. Okay. Another one is communication. In scientific literacy, communication is something that is understanding articles about science, reading scientific papers, issues as well, and engaging in conversation about the validity of the conclusions. So communication dito is trying to look at whether tama ba impormasyon. Hindi yung tanggap ng impormasyon, pero i-verify pa natin kung tama pa naman impormasyon. In short, hindi tayo madaling maloko. Okay? Next, up-to-dateness. Okay? Knowing scientific issues underlying national, local decisions and expressing positions based on facts. Mga nangyayari ngayon, mga changes with our, siyempre, dapat alam po natin like yung, anong rason kung bakit kinuha ng China, yung kinukuha o kinakamkan ng China dahan-dahan ang mga islands surrounding and the properties and the lands and the resources surrounding of the surrounding countries. Bakit kaya? So according to scientific literacy, there is a scientific reason why such political move has been done by a certain country. It's because overpopulation, dahil sobrang dami niya ng populasyon ng kanang tao, hindi na nakakayanan ng kanang natural resources. So what's the next? Is to expand and to get other properties and lands that could suffice and meet the needs of the population of China. Kung matulungan natin. So instead of politically, fighting China about this, sabi ng science literacies, why not help China address its needs? Kasi pag na-address nila yung needs nila na yun, ma-stop na yung kanyang pagkamkam at pagkuha ng mga property, ng mga lands surrounding the lands of the countries surrounding China. Diba? Next, critical. Evaluate the quality of scientific information on the basis of its source and the methods used to generate. So hindi natin sinayaan, tinuturuan natin mga bata na one source is not enough. It has to be verified by other sources to make it more valid and more acceptable. If one person won't say that and the rest are not saying that, so that's questionable. We're not saying it's not, na hindi tama. Pero medyo questionable mo na ikaw lang nagsasabi niyan, sino pa ba nagsabi? So by asking students to be more objective and more critical about certain information, hindi na sila madaling maloko. Alright? So kaya nga ignorance and science literacy is helping our students to set aside ignorance, make them develop more creative ways to question the veracity of information. Finally, evidence-driven. Yung posing and evaluating arguments based on evidence and applying conclusions from such arguments appropriately. Ibig sabihin po dito na hindi na siya nagagawa ng opinion based just on personal opinions or personal emotions, but the opinions that we form or our students form are based on certain facts. Hindi yung, basta ito yung gusto ko, ito paniniwala ko, wala akong pakalam sa inyo. Hindi, scientific literacy, tinuturuan ng mga bata na, wait, these are facts. If the facts say this and your opinion says otherwise, what are you supposed to do now? You cannot alter facts. Facts are facts. But can you alter your own opinion? Yun dapat ang tinutunan sa mga bata na we can alter our thoughts, we can alter our opinions based on acceptable, validated, verifiable facts. Okay? This is what this definition from Lombroso 2015 is one of the most beautiful, very practical, very easy to understand definition of scientific literacy. He said that scientific literacy is the knowledge and understanding of scientific concepts and processes required for personal decision making. See, hindi lang yung alam natin yung mga konsepto at mga proseso, knowledge and skills, ethics and values about science and science learning and science education, but he said that it is for personal decision making, participation in civic and cultural affairs, and economic productivity. Bakit marami tayong mga build projects sa Pilipinas, sa mga buildings na nasisira agad? Hindi ginamitan ng scientific knowledge, o kaya kung may scientific knowledge man, hindi ginamitan ng tamang decision making, critical. What will, if I corrupt this, binabaan ko ang materialis na to, what will be the effect on this? Mayroon bang pagganit ang heaviness ng isang truck pa pag dumaan dito would affect eventually kung ganito katagal gamitin at mga ganito kabibigat ng mga truck ang dumaan, ano kayo mangyayari sa ginawa naming overpass? Yung mga ganyan mga questions, mga decision making sana by asking ourselves, if I do this, what will happen? What will be the effect on this to the environment? What will be the effect of this to other people, not just to myself, but to other people? Yan daw ang definition ng scientific literacy. Siguro kailangan natin yan. Ang dami natin mga corrupt na mga politicians sa Pilipinas. So kailangan sila bigyan ng scientific literacy based on facts. But they manipulate facts. Next, or even more simply put, he said, is understanding scientific literacy is understanding enough science to make good choices in life. It is not, he said that it's not being the best in chemistry. It is not being the best in biology. It's not being best in all other branches or other studies of science, but just knowing enough science to make good choices in life. Ang sabi niya dito is, scientific literacy and reasoning is just, thinking whether your decisions are right, and your decisions based on facts that the fact that you have verified, and thinking what would it be its effect on me, effect on others, and effect on the environment. Yung threefold questions: myself, others, and environment. Kung positive at saka beneficial for myself, good. That's a good decision. It's a good move. Is it beneficial to others? If it's yes, then it's good, right? But he said, if the third question is it beneficial to the environment? At sinabi mong, ay hindi, masisira, mapupulot, mapuputol mga puno, automatically you go back. So kung mapuputol mga puno, hindi yan beneficial for others kasi iinit ang panahon. Mas lalaki ang konsumo ng mga kuryente and all kasi bumabalik daw. If the environment is the one that would suffer so much, ibabalik natin ang tanong sa sarili natin. Am I just doing this for myself and for others and not for the environment? Because we are all dependent on the environment. So the most important thing to answer that's always yes, the environment. Pag sinabi natin na yes, pag sabi, is this project good for me? No. Is it good for others? Well, no. But it's good for the environment. Yes, go for it. According to Lombroso, if anything that is productive, our decision is more beneficial to the environment, even if it's not beneficial. Kasi sabi nila, ano mga naman ang proyekto na beneficial sa environment na hindi maging beneficial for people and for ourselves? Hindi naman. Hindi kasi ang tanong daw para sa sarili at para sa iba is highly personal and may not have beneficial connection to the environment. So dapat ang mangyayari daw, balik na rin po natin. Do not ask if you're coming up with decision making, especially for projects that are, for a bigger population. Ask yourself palagi, is this beneficial to the environment? If it's beneficial to the environment, would this be beneficial to others and to myself? Hindi muna myself, others. Babalik na rin daw po natin. So that's scientific literacy. All right? So the second question is, okay, what is, I'm on time po. I'm on time. What is scientific method and why is it important? Because according to the National Research and Science Council, they believe that for our students and for us to develop scientific literacy and reasoning is that we should be well versed, and we should learn to do scientific method and apply scientific methods in our everyday lives. Okay, so scientific method, just for us, I know we know what scientific method is, but let's just go through this question. Scientific method is technique used in the construction and testing of the scientific hypothesis or its empirical method of acquiring knowledge. I think what's important here is a technique. And another one is hypothesis, scientific hypothesis, and empirical method. Ibig sabihin, ito ay pamamaraan na talagang wala pong room for biases and personal prejudices. Inilalabas natin ang sarili natin sa sitwasyon na ito. Okay? It is not, where scientific method is forgetting oneself. Okay, for the greater good of, one, contribution to knowledge, of scientific knowledge, and contribution to society and solving societal issues, environment, and improving the way of life. Ganun daw. Okay? Ganun daw ang scientific method. Kaya lang bakit ginawa po natin sa pagtuturo ng science ay pinamemorize lang natin ang scientific method pero hindi natin tinuro sa mga bata na ano ang benefits ng scientific method, ano ang pagbabagong magagawa ng scientific method sa the way we think, the way we behave, and the way we act. Tatlo daw yun eh. The scientific method changes the way we think. And if it changes the way we think, it changes the way we act. Abay, di ba? The way we feel muna. The way we think, the way we feel, the way we act. Kasi we cannot act if our emotions are not changed. Because we act on, according to National Science and National Research Council, is that we do not act on something that we do not believe in and we are not so passionate about. Very nice, very nice. And that's when we have to help our students to be able to learn and acquire scientific literacy and reasoning is to touch their minds and hearts. Hindi lang salata ito. Okay? Okay? And it involves careful observation. Okay, scientific method involves careful observation, applying rigorous skepticism. Hindi agad naniniwala about what is observed, given that cognitive assumptions can distort how one interprets observation. Ano mo sa Pilipinas kasi, baliktad kasi ang nangyayari paniniwala natin. Ang tingin natin sa tao na skeptic ay negative na tao. There's also, huwag naman sobrang skepticism. Ang tawag na natin doon ay pessimistic na. Magkaiba ang skepticism sa pessimism. Okay? So skepticism here is that, we just don't accept information as it is. We don't just accept things as it is. We try to probe deeper, find answers, and then do something. If it's problematic, then do something about it. If it's okay, then it exists without us, then might as well remove ourselves from the picture. Diba? Sabi nga natin, bakit nagtatanggal pa tayo ng mga tiger sa environment? Hawa kayo, alagaan nyo, lalagay mo sa environment sa bahay ninyo kasi gusto nyo alagaan. The question is it beneficial for you or beneficial for? Is it beneficial for you? Is it beneficial to the tiger? If it's beneficial to you, dahil feeling mo lang nakatulong ka, pero hindi naman nakatulong kasi you have removed the animal from its natural environment. Now, if you have removed the animal from its natural environment, there's a possibility of changes of its behavior. You altered. Hindi nagkaroon ng ecological imbalance. Diba? Isip-isip temper may tayo. So the benefits of scientific method, it minimizes biases and prejudices. So, pag tinuruan daw natin ang mga tao, well, basically just, skepticism. I'd like the idea of teaching our students scientific method so that they will develop skepticism or the skill of being skeptic. All right? So, it minimizes some biases and prejudices. Bakit po importante na ituro natin sa mga bata ito? Kasi ang mga bata po natin, tayo po ay nagagaling po tayo sa iba't ibang kultura. At ang kultura po natin ay basihan po yan ng ating how we look at environment, how we look at people, how we look at things in life. And there's a possibility because we're coming from different cultures, we may be biased of the other people's culture. By imbibing scientific method and its purpose, we are able to allow ourselves to be open-minded to the possibility that we are different species, although we are humans, but we are coming from different environments, different societies. Hence, our behavior will change. Kagaya ng ecosystem, mag-iba ang ating behavior, and so on. So the climate has to do something about that too. The topography also, the land topography also has to do with the way we live, how we construct our infrastructure, our houses. So hindi pa rin natin sabihin na mas maganda ang aming lipunan kasi sa lipunan na hindi. Depende po yan sa kultura at saan sila located in this part of the world. So it minimizes bias. It makes us more open-minded. Okay? Kaya siguro ang daming mga races sa mundo dahil hindi sila naturuan ng scientific method. Hindi sila open-minded. Na hindi lang sila ang species sa mundong ito. There are other species in this world and they are just one of those species and they don't have the right to think that they are the super species. Walang ganun po. Okay, next we have provides an objective, standardized approach to conduct experiment. By scientific method, we get to find ways, help our, ayan ha, BDO ba naman, palagi kong sinasabing yung mga mantra, okay? Taglines ninyo. So, we teach our students the proper way of doing research, acceptable way, reliable way, valid way, standard way, empirical way of finding answers. This could be via research, it could be via experimentation. Okay, although experimentation is a form of research. So next, develop self-confidence in one's knowledge and capacity to understand others' environment. Kasi pag ang bata daw ay marunong maghanap, ang individual marunong maghanap ng information at mag-verify, alam niya ang tama, alam niya pa ng totoo. So yeah, it lends more confidence in oneself and what he knows, what she knows, and what she can do about this knowledge. Next. Develops critical thinking that makes one evaluate information in the base of its source and the methods used to generate it. Okay, so the idea of being skeptic. And finally, allows one to make a data-based solutions to social and environmental problems. Hindi yung how do you call that? You know, we just promote, implement projects that is not based on the ground data or ground-based data. Baka ito din paniniwala natin na ito ang makakatulong, ito ang tamang solusyon para sa problema ito, para sa pollution or environmental problem po natin. The question is, did we investigate from the ground roots the real situation so that we can come up with a more data-based solution, not on hypothetical data. Well, opinion eh, hypothetical lang. Opinion lang natin. Personal opinion lang po natin. And that's what good thing. That's why scientific method is very important. And it has been there since time of the Aristotelian, since the Aristotelian era. Okay? Because the questions, the formulation of questions, the thinking of scientific thoughts, of questioning your questions is basically Socratic method. It boils down to that idea. And it's been there for some time now. All right. So scientific method can also be considered an approach, okay, in teaching the different content areas or subject matter, allows them to pose questions, find answers through research, analyze and make conclusions based on data or information, and think of ways how to counter societal and environmental problems using the gain knowledge. And what's good thing about happening right now in our educational system brought about by pandemic is that our students are now the ones looking for information. We have provided them with modules, but they are now guided to individually seek information, understand this information, and they must be able to digest this information so that they are able to apply that on the activities that the teacher has devised for them. So one thing about scientific method, kasi flipped classroom ang nangyayari kasi sa style ng scientific method of approach to teaching, then our students become more confident, more independent, and more propelled to look answers for themselves because information already existing. All we have to do is look for them and the proper way to look for them. Third and second to the last question is, why is scientific literacy and reasoning important? Very, very, very simple. So importance of scientific literacy and reasoning is that science literacy and reasoning is important because it provides a context for addressing societal problems, and because a science literate populace can better cope with many of its problems and make intelligent and informed decisions that will affect the quality of their lives and those of their children. Ito yung sinasabi natin na pag ikaw daw ay you have scientific literacy and reasoning, you stop blaming other people. You stop blaming the government. You get to realize that we are contributors to the bigger problem in society and environment. Kasi pag sinabi nga naman ng society, kasama yung environment natin doon, that we contribute to that. And instead of waiting for solution to come down, we act on our own solutions in our respective homes. Yan daw ang ibig sabihin nun ng scientific literacy reasoning na hindi pwedeng hindi ka kasali sa problema ng lipunan. Miyembro ka ng lipunan at ng any societal problem and environmental problem, and we belong to that society and that in society and environment. That means you are part of the problem. Sabi, sir, alam ko naman, hindi na ako sumasali dyan. Hindi na ako sumasali. I do that for myself. Yes, the question is you're doing something about that. The question is, again, did you help educate the other members of your community? O, ginagawa mo sa pamilya. The second one, sinasabi natin, ginawa mo ba yan sa pamilya mo, pero hindi pa rin siya, percentage-wise, hindi pa rin siya nakatulong sa solusyon. So probably hindi lang ikaw dapat ang mag-act on. You need to act as one, as a community. Wow. Sometimes guilty ako dyan kasi tagadalagdal lang ako, kasi nakasabi lang ako na. Although we practice at home, but sometimes kasi pag lumabas ng bahay natin, bahala sila, buhay nila yan eh. Di ba yung indifferentism? Okay? Indifferentism. Lumalabas po yan ngayon na wala akong, basta ginagawa mo yung tama, wala akong pakialam sa iba. Hindi daw ganun sa scientific. Kasi because something that you do alone does not exponentially change the problem. So, to exponentially make changes in the society, and especially societal problems, we need to involve others to make it more community-based kind of solution. All right? So science education, according to National Research Council, should be an essential component of learning continuum for all from preschool to active engaged citizenship. All right? So dapat itinuturo daw natin ang scientific, hindi lang science, hindi lang daw branches of science, kung hindi to teach ano ba talaga, bakit may science subject? My science subject is to teach our students the facts. Yes, but also how to use these facts. Pero hindi daw yun eh. Hindi lang yung, we don't teach facts because there are some information that changes every now and then. What we want to teach our students is to be questionable. To be skeptic, to always question what's happening in the environment and to do something about that. And research for ways, data-based, to make well-informed decisions. Next, science education should focus on competence with an emphasis on learning through science and linking science with other subjects and disciplines. So science alone cannot stand. It has to be linked with the other subject areas. Will link po yan sa araling palipunan. Will link po yan sa mathematics. Will link po yan sa science. Kaya lang, baka hindi nag-usap-usap. Walang collaborative effort of teachers to teach our students that what they learn in science is also very relevant to other subject areas. Finally, it should focus on the more general problem of increasing the science literacy of the general public rather than recruitment of future scientists. Ang tingin kasi ng mga tao, ng mga estudyante, bakit yung magalingan sa science? Hindi naman ako magiging scientist. Hindi naman ako magiging doctor. No, the science education primarily is helping our students become become critical thinkers, more well-informed, and to be more objective in their addressing societal problems and environmental problems. So, ganun po dapat lang. Hindi yung pag hindi ka magaling, parang hindi ka na pag-science, hindi ka sa science. Ganun ako lumaki ng elementary at high school. Dapat ang level ng pagkatuto mo sa science ay parang scientist talaga. Wag naman, kasi hindi naman lahat naging scientist. Last question, how can scientific method help improve learners' scientific literacy and reasoning? So what are the strategies now? So ito pa yung based on the scientific method, ito daw dapat natin gawin. Okay, una, engage. So we have to structure our lesson in science. Well, it can also be used. This is an approach. They call it the scientific method approach in teaching science. and can also be used in other subject areas. So the first phase is engage phase, where, sorry, wait, I cannot see my nabutas na ano kasi ng screen. Okay, it's to orient our students' thinking and learning in a particular direction. Papunta saan ba? And the scientific method is towards analysis of existing problems in society. Now, it's not just to contribute to the body of knowledge of science, but more importantly, it's to help our students see that what we learn from science and all other subject areas is to help us in addressing and solving the problems in our society. Sana pa ganun po eh. Kaya nga ang education is a catalyst of help, it is producing catalyst of change. So what are those specific strategies that we can help our students to help them be engaged and set the directions towards what they're supposed to be learning? Okay, ask questions. Okay, the art of questioning is very important. I'm not sure if we have given you, I think we've given a webinar on art of questioning that I think right back in August. So you may want to review on the art of questioning. Asking questions is very important. But remember that if for our students to develop critical thinking skills, which is one of the indicators of scientific literacy and reasoning, is that we need to formulate the proper questions to stimulate the brain. Hindi lang katanong-tanong lang. So we need to ask the questions that really stimulate our students. And there are, it's an art of doing it. Hindi lang makagawa lang ka lang ng tanong. Basta may tanong lang, ano na agad, makatulong na sa mga bata agad sa pag-isip nila. No. All right. Next is as a more creative way. So if you don't you're not so good at questions, and daming questions, or you don't know how to use the major question, follow-up questions, final questions, follow-up questions, and all, concluding questions, clinching questions. Kung hindi mo alam mga types of questions na yan, sige, let's forget about art of question. Let's go to a more creative way of engaging our students. We can show them pictures and videos of societal and environmental problems relevant to the lesson. So you can ask them, okay, let's watch for 15 minutes or 5 minutes this video. So you are now appealing to the brain by making your students watch or analyze the picture. You have already engaged them. According to this phase, you engage your students mentally, emotionally, and behaviorally. Okay? Pag sinabi ng behavioral, because na-stimulate mo ng utak nila, na-stimulate heart mo nila, parang gustong-gusto na lang ngayon nila mag-solve at gumalaw at mag-act na. Okay? Act. So that's a good engaged phase. So by showing them pictures, inaantik mo na ang mga puso nila at you have stimulated the brain, and then you make them you make them restless. They want to do something already. So nagkakaroon tuloy ng importansya kung bakit sila dapat makinig sa science lesson or whatever lesson you're supposed to give. Next, use strategies to engage students, behaviorally, emotionally, and cognitively. So mas maganda daw yung like KWL and KWL Plus is very good strategy that engages students behaviorally, emotionally, and cognitively. So pupili na tayo ng strategy. So art of questioning does that. Talking pictures does that. KWL Plus. Videos also, we call them as media technology enhanced learning environment. Technology enhanced learning environment, like the use of videos and short films, would also help our students prepare, be engaged, behaviorally, emotionally, and cognitively. Once you've done that, the next step you're going to do is the pre-investigate phase. The pre-investigate phase is to help students support your students in learning how scientific knowledge is produced. Paano ba ginagawa? So dito mo ituturo ang knowledge and skills kung paano ginagawa. Ito na yung sinasabi po natin, how do we really formulate questions? Okay? How do we break down questions into specific parts? So guiding students to refine their questions, to look for the answers to the question is a way of pre-investigating, okay? Refinement. So from the engagement, we now help our students refine their thoughts, refine their emotion, okay? Kasi hindi pwedeng bigla na lang, ay, gusto ko na mag-equate. You have to refine your thoughts. You have to refine what you feel to come up with a plan. So pre-investigation is helping them, what are you gonna do now? This is what you think now. This is what you feel now. what are the steps are you going to take? So dito na papasok si teacher sa pagtuturo. Ano yung topic, ano yung mga skills, ano yung knowledge na dapat nila matutunan para makapag-act sila na maayos. Okay? Or to do something about. So the second one is brainstorm on how students can answer the formulated questions. So from the questions that they have formulated for their own, anong ways mag-experiment pa sila? Anong klaseng experiment ang gagawin nila? Kung gagawa sila ng experiment, how is it done? So papasok si teacher nga dito na supporting. Siya yung hindi lang nag-lecture ha, talagang gina-guide lang sa mga bata. Although the information already there, probably in the book, pero i-guide niya. So these are the steps, okay? This is why these steps are very important. Okay, next, 3, understand protocols and standards of conducting scientific investigations. Kung paano, sasabihin mo na sa mga bata, so when we conduct experiments, what are the reminders? What are the standards we're supposed to be reminded of? Okay. So, kasi hypothesizing na, di ba? Tapos, bago ka mag-experiment, dapat i-remind po natin mga bata, ano ba mga protocols ng paggawa ng experiment? Like, anong PPE? Kailangan ba natin ng PPE? Kailangan ba natin ng equipment? How to handle the equipment? How to handle the tools? What are the necessary documents that we need to use so that when we do conduct the investigation at saka experiment, andun lahat ang mga gamitin. So that's pre-investigation. The third phase is the investigate phase, the actual phase na po, yung sinasabi natin ng experiment. So this is where we allow our students to acquire scientific knowledge through supervised investigation. How do we do that? Provide students with documentation strategies like semantic feature analysis. Yung may mga checklist po, check nila na ginawa ba nila po, anong observe nila. Okay, another one is journal writing, how to log in what they have done. So step by step, anong oras, ano yung time, tapos anong ginawa, anong resulta, and so on and so forth. So journal writing is one of the skills of helping our students be more literate, okay? Literate and develop what we call as looking for proofs. Next would be provide research scaffolds like eye chart, collaborative strategies, etc. Yung mga jigsaw puzzle really help in the investigative phase. And the third one is provide guidance in conducting experiments like simulations first before actual. So in the investigation part, it could be the National Research Council is teaching us that maraming pagkakamali, may magkakamali. The first time magkakamali ang bata. So kagaya ng any scientist, talagang they bank on the idea on the first experiment, the second experiment, na wala pong sinasabi na unang gawa pa lang ng experiment, nakuha na agad. So dapat may mga simulations muna helping students to get how do you call that? Parang masanay siya sa procedure, okay? It's a skill that we're teaching our students. It's a way of doing things. So dapat dahan-dahan natin turo kasi magkakaroon ng mali. Kasi kung one time lang, saan ang learning? Kasi learning usually comes from the greater learning that our students learn from this situation and investigation is from the mistakes they did. So now that you committed mistakes, nagkamay ka dito, ulitin mo yung experiment, now you'll be more conscious about your mistakes, and the second time you do it, it will be better. Ganun talagang, that's how you do it. And the final phase is allow students to share their findings from investigation of what scientific knowledge they have gained that can address societal and environmental problems. So each student's traditional reporting strategies like lectures, panel discussion, and debate. So these are common strategies. But also, you can also teach students to use creative reporting strategies like news reporting, talk show, infomercials, in print na po. Pwedeng paggamit din po ang mga online platforms. The number 3, provide an avenue for students to present the use. So hindi lang importante ang report, in-report lang nila ang findings. Hindi, ano ang importansya ng findings nila sa experiment and sa other scientific knowledge they have gained. Not just to themselves, kailangan po findings, ano importansya ng kanilang matutunan o kanilang what they have found out from their experiment or research to the community, to the environment, to others, and to oneself. All right? So these are the things that I can share to you that ito yung 4 phases po ng the method of how do I call this? The simple scientific method approach to developing scientific literacy and research. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm now willing to answer questions from you guys out there.
Thank you very much. Very
Exactly 408.
congratulations. Okay, we'll proceed for to the question and answer. The first one is from Miss John Aquino. What are the characteristics of a student with a scientific attitude? Thank you po.
Number one that I think I already mentioned about that. The number one that shows that students already have ang sabi kasi ng ang sabi kasi sa atin ng National Research Council that scientific literacy and reasoning is a continuum. There's no there's a beginning but there's no end until we are still living and we are learning. We engage on refining our scientific literacy and reasoning. But these are indicators from our students that they are now gradually acquiring scientific literacy and reasoning. Number one, when they start asking questions, okay? That's why it's very important for teachers and parents that when our kids start asking questions, we do not thwart them away or we do not yung dissuade them from asking questions. Ba, dami mong tanong, puro ka tanong ng tanong. So instead of you really answering the questions, sabi nga nila, so the first thing is when the curiosity yun eh. Pag nagtanong daw ang bata, the first indicator of scientific literacy and reasoning is asking questions, and that's curiosity. Once the curiosity begins, you can now guide the students to find ways how to look for answers to these questions. Hindi daw ibig sabihin na ang pag nagtanong ang bata sa magulang o kaya sa mga teacher, si teacher ang source or kaya si magulang ang source ng sagot. The second one is sabi nga sa nakalagay is pre-investigate phase or pre-investigation phase is guiding the students. Oh, that's a good question. So if this is your question, okay, let's find ways how you can find the answers. Kung alam mong sagot, I know the answer. Withhold the answer. I know the answer to the question, but as you, as an individual, you must know how to find the answers for yourselves. Okay, I will write my answers, but I will write my answers on the paper. I will tell you my answer later on, but I want you to find the answers to that. So, ang mga magulang sa mga bahay, ang gagawin po nila ay they can redirect their kids to let's look the answers on a book. So, hanapin sa libro. All right. So it's not enough. Kasabi nga nila, one information is not enough. Yung scientific reason kanina sabi natin is hindi dapat isa lang na informasyon, dapat must be verified by other information. So let's look at the internet. So tingnan natin sa internet what reputable sites tell us about the answer. Kung nagparehas ang sagot, alam mo ibang sagot, hanap pa tayo ng ibang sources kung ano ba talagang tama. So by guiding students to look for the answers, so questions, okay? Pero hindi ko dapat nagsasagot. The strategy there is to guide them to look for the answer. So what's good thing about this era of teaching and learning is that madali na. It's what call it as information, accessibility of information. The kids can look for information online and there are already reputable sources online. May mga journals na rin online, hindi na lang libro, meron na rin e-library so they can research on that. That's the most important thing that we need to teach our students, to guide them in looking for answers and not just wait for answers. Diba? May tanong sila, pero dapat hindi sila magstay lang na magtanong. Dapat maghahanap sila ng sagot sa mga tanong nila. Another indicator that hindi lang curiosity, malalaman mo na sila po ay may scientific literacy and reasoning na kung sila po ay aware na sa kanilang environment. Mama, tingnan mo, they look at phenomena in the environment. Hindi lang sa bahay. Halimbawa, tingnan mo mama yung shadow, yung anything that they observe, at then they tell us about this, na ang tingin ng mga magulang, at tingin ng mga teacher, ay normal yan. But for kids who observes this very simple things happening in their environment is already indicator or indication that they are developing already that scientific literacy and reasoning. What do? Engage them in that. Hindi, hayaan mo na, ganyan talaga, magkakaroon ng shadow talaga. Huwag mong ganunin. Encourage mo pa. Minsan kasi ang iniisip natin is, wala naman yan sa lesson. O hindi wala naman sa lesson, wala naman yan sa, may gagawin pa si nanay, may gagawin pa si tatay. Na hindi natutuloy. Kaya nga sinabi natin continue. Minsan, hindi natutuloy, na-stop na siya. Alright? But encourage lang natin ng mga bata. Next, another indicator is that when kids One, and I like what the indicators of the National Council did, Research Council did. Pag ang bata na marunong mag-alaga ng pets, they're now able to apply their knowledge about the nature and their understanding of animals and how to take care of them. Okay? They are now able to take care of plants. Kaya sabi nga nila, teach kids to take care of plants. Teach kids how to take care of pets. You have now gradually helping them uh, acquire scientific literacy and knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Ricky. The next question is from Mr. Ernie Enrico. What if the student asking questions and the teacher can answer it?
I think I've answered that in the first question. Yung sasabi nga po natin na in scientific literacy and reasoning development, it is not making our students feel that the teacher is the fountain of answers or the parents are the fountain of answers to their questions. If our students keep asking questions, it's because they're in a state of, of in equilibrium. Sabi na ni uh, John Piaget. When a student is in a state of equilibrium or disequilibrium, students are having dissonance of what they are thinking and what they are learning at the same time, and they observe some anomalies in what they believe in and what they observe. So they ask questions and they have these questions. When they ask this question, doesn't mean and they find answers, another question will come out. So string of questions po yan. So instead of doing posing as the fountain of answers to all questions, our job as educators, our job as adults, our job as parents is the second step is to help them learn how to look for answers. Why? They need, hindi pwede kasi para tinuruan lang natin ng mga bata para tanong ng tanong-tanong. So, dapat turuan natin ng mga bata na it's okay to ask questions. But you also need, it's good that you ask questions, but you also need to find answers for that. Pwedeng ang source ng information manggaling kay teacher, pero that's not enough. You have to look for other sources. So guiding students to look for the answers is a better way of helping our students develop literacy, scientific literacy and reasoning than giving them the answers directly. That's spoon feeding. Thank you.
That's all the question that we have
That's
for
all.
now. So, yes, well, any last reminders for our viewers for today, Brother Ricky?
Yes, I have final reminders, but not last words. Okay, so we have. It's just more of a challenge. So in the advancement of science literacy and reasoning of our learners. So I would like to summarize my topic for this afternoon as teaching science talaga, teaching science. O sige, mahirapan kayo mag-English ng all throughout the afternoon for an hour. Okay? So teaching science should be focused on fostering critical literacy because it has far-reaching applications. Scientific literacy and reasoning is basically one form of critical thinking. And that's what we want our students to develop. Hindi yung nagtanong sila tapos sinasagot natin. That would not develop critical thinking. They're just developing curiosity and asking questions. They become just, asking questions. But we need to help them be critical, but at the same time, be creative as well by looking for the answers to these questions. Next, through scientific literacy and reasoning development, students become more perceptive about the world around them and more empowered to make decisions about how they interact with that world. So, pag tinuruan daw natin ng mga bata na magtanong, humanap ng sagot para sa tanong nila, at, at dapat verifiable, reliable ang sources nila, and then use this information to act on situations, then we have really made a good impact on our learners. Finally, I would like you to take on the following challenges. Teach science to help students develop scientific literacy and reasoning in order to become active citizens of this country and the world. So let's not just teach science, let us teach science so that they become citizens of this world, active citizens of this world. Second challenge that I would like you to take on is integrate science, literacy, and reasoning to other learning areas to promote a more holistic education of students. So hindi lang daw dapat ang scientific literacy ay develop sa science, should be also developed in all other subject areas. So dapat integrated po siya. Sa lahat ng subjects po, ang science po ang madaling integrate sa lahat ng subjects. And number three, we have, and the third and final challenge I would like to pose for you guys is that develop and enhance one scientific literacy atin naman. So if we try to develop our students' scientific literacy, promote literacy across subject areas, collaborate with other teachers, but it boils down again to the idea that we should have it to begin with. So this is my last challenge for you guys out there. Develop and enhance one scientific literacy and reasoning to become a role model to learners. Do you ask yourselves questions about the environment? Do you look for the answers to these questions, or we go on blaming other people? We blame the government. Do we actively solve problems in our society, in our family, in our immediate community? If not, then do something about it. And that's the challenge for number three. With that, thank you very much, and I hope to see you the next time. I will have my webinar this week on Thursday, and I hope you keep on tuning in too. No matter whether it's like today, it's also today. It's just about an hour and a half or so, and we have a lot of learnings to have to partake with. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
There we have it. In behalf of VIBAL Group Incorporated, I would like to thank you, Brother Ricky, for being our speaker this afternoon for this insightful learning session. It is truly an honor to have you with us today, brother. And to all our Kabibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage for our daily learning session. We encourage you to subscribe and watch on our official Bibal Facebook and YouTube channel. Muli, maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat. Stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.